Okay. Well, my hair looks like crap. All right. So, what happened here is I finally came to terms with the fact that what I had done before wasn't really lining up and I needed to work it out further. And um, and so I did that. I tried that out for a while and jacked around with it for probably another couple hours or something. You know, time just flies. I think it was anyway. I found the center and tried to work that up to a counted number of bricks, starting from this center point that I marked there. Hopefully, you can kind of see the circle around that point. But that center point outward about this is the thing. I probably should have really like been more studious about thinking about where these grid lines were going, and because I wasn't, I think I kind of set myself up for a little bit of failure here. Um, so it was a fun experiment, but I think I pushed it to the limits, probably far beyond them at this point, and I'm feeling a bit of exhaustion, honestly, on this. And I think the pyramid has beat me, as it has beat everyone else who has tried to construct it or deconstruct it, rather. Um, Proving the Great Pyramid is still uh, unbuildable by modern terms. But yeah, it was fun, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why I just did that to myself. I wasted like a lot of time on this. But I was pursuing a question and pursuing an answer to a question, and I guess it was worth it. I don't know. It's one of those moments that comes often in art where you sometimes work yourself into a corner and and there's no way out, and you kind of just have to abandon it at that point. And that can be hard. That can be very hard. So I'm going to think about that as I move on to another project. And the main takeaway here, I think, was that yes, this is achievable. Of course, it's possible. Again, with a better grid, if you had a mathematically more accurate grid, one would have to work really hard at simulating that if you were trying to do this all by hand, which thus far is what I've pretty much been doing. And that ultimately still it leaves it it leaves it to the artist. There's no escaping that when you're doing this kind of stuff. When you're doing perspective drawing, you're never going to be quite as accurate as the computer. Okay? There's just something about it, and that's kind of maybe the beauty of it, right? Is that there is that error, that human error, that miscalculation. Because see, again, this was kind of the top where I was thinking, and I don't know where the thing goes wrong, but I just know that my bricks lining up and everything got very confusing, and perhaps if I was also doing this in different colors, I thought about that earlier. There's a lot of things I guess I could do to this experiment if I really wanted to pursue it seriously. Um, so I guess maybe let me know if you think I should do that in another video, and I will. But honestly, if nobody's asking for that, I don't think I'm gonna put myself through that kind of torture, because this was good enough for me to explore the idea of a more accurate pyramid and what it might entail. I definitely learned a lot from, especially doing the center line here. I'm glad I forced myself to do that here towards the end, even though it's kind of a mess. but it told me a lot about what's going on as I was counting. I try to create these bricks that would kind of pinch as they get higher up because they're pushing up towards this warp. So they pinch as they come closer up here, as well as get larger a little bit as they get over to this way. There's so many aspects that you have to take into account. So having those come up here a certain number, well, what do we get? We got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 right there. Maybe. If I counted that right, maybe it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't know. 10 or 12 up, that's what, it gets so confusing. Why did I do this? I think an artist often asks themselves that when they've faced the ultimate question, when you become ultimately stumped in your own work. It's not the greatest feeling, but it is a learning experience, and I came here to learn. Apparently. Apparently, I came here to this earth to learn something, because everything I do apparently is a learning experience. Something was gained. Yeah. Well, so I think what I learned from this is that also, for my purposes, for what I'm after, I don't need to do this. And maybe that's the lesson. Maybe that was the whole lesson here, is that you don't need to do this. You don't need to go through this kind of extraneous labor, because your eye is good enough. And because, the pyramid. Okay, so this is one of the things here. So let me point this out. This pyramid, or this point here, this is actually kind of the top of the pyramid for like what I was counting to try to be like somewhat relative to what I think it should have been as far as count of bricks outwards from this center point to the count of bricks here, which I had about 1 to 12, again, kind of depending, especially once you get to this over here. I could definitely keep fudging. So I was mainly trying to get my pyramid up to about 10 or 12 bricks up, because I felt like 10 to 12, anything over here could just be like another line, right? So we can get away with a lot over here in these areas. So I guess it was a little more about just the height and how far that came out to here. And I ran into that kind of question. I'd have to get more into the math, and I got a little bit into it, but I didn't want to. Again, I just thought, if I'm actually going to start getting into like slope, and calculating the angle, then I should have drawn a better grid. So, just lessons learned, of course, along the way. You always learn things, and you kind of figure out what works. And so I think that would be the way to go if you're really trying to do that. In this instance, we got an interesting result. I might just keep this page like this, honestly. I just kind of like the way it looks, but I don't know. I originally intended on filling the rest of it with more stuff, and this was going to just be kind of a skeleton with people working on it and stuff. So, yeah, we'll see how I feel about it. Maybe I'll try to add a few elements, and we'll move along with this piece. Or maybe I'll just completely abandon it out of sheer anger at the Great Pyramid for stumping me once again. But I will always try again, and I'm gonna try something else now. Though I need to move on to something else. There is a there's panels, there's that piece of artwork down there. Honestly, that may or may not be done. Sometimes a piece is only done once somebody buys it, and up until that point, it's always prone to editing. But I got like this panel here. I got a bunch of these kind of things. I just need to get to work on some other stuff. I need to stop letting myself get so hung up on just little things like this. I mean, this was fun, but yeah, we need to move a little more quickly through this. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there was something beneficial out of all the pain and anguish that I went through to bring you this 5-point perspective pyramid nested in the right hemisphere. Because, this was the tutorial that nobody asked for. But alas, here we have concluded the lesson. And what is the lesson? Well, if you're going to try to be super accurate, you need to really have that plotted out with your grid. But you can get away with a lot, even with a crude grid like this. And you certainly can pull it off with a little bit of artistic eye. And you don't need to do this, though, if you don't want to. If you're not going to show the interior of the pyramid, see, like, that's the point now. Like, I'm at this point where, okay, I want to show as much of the stuff that I worked so hard to do. I want to keep that intact somehow. So just make sure whatever you're doing, right, is not going to just be lost or wasted. Somehow this has to be useful, right? I mean, if not anything else, though, there is that learning experience. Even if this is a scrap piece of paper that doesn't ever sell or nothing happens with it, honestly think somebody would probably buy it as is. So I think if I keep working on it, it'll continue to become something that somebody will buy. So I'm kind of like in a win-win situation on this thing right now. And I learned a lot off of it. And now there is this. Now somebody else can hopefully find it and figure something out from the information here. And if you enjoyed this, then please like and subscribe, share, whatever, and let me know what you want to see me cover next. And I will certainly do that. I am always pushing myself to draw whatever I can. I kind of always felt like, all right, if you can draw people and perspectives and things like that, you can pretty much draw anything, right? So what could I not draw? I don't know. That's always a good question, and that's what I'm always pushing myself to, actually, as well. I'm always thinking, like, what have I not thought of yet, right? So keep pushing your boundaries and never stop. It's a long haul. So keep a pace that you can hold on to for a long time. And that also includes breaks every now and then, right? But it's the hustle culture. All right. No gains without pains, bro. Get that in the .506 shop. All right. That'd be really cool if you did. It would really help me out because that is my shop. Well, I have a shop on my website as well too, but there's also .506. Okay. Never mind. We're not doing all that. But find it at .506.com or vincentfink.com. And we'll talk to you soon. All right. Best of energies. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, if you want to support me as a content creator, as a artist, as a creator of culture, what art has always been throughout history, then if you think my voice has value, if you value free-thinking artists who push themselves to the limits, then please head on to patreon.com/VincentFink. You can start at the price of a cup of coffee per month and
will far exceed the monetary value of your investment with art gifts. So please check it out. And thank you very much for watching today. And we'll see you in the next vid.